What Hamas has done since they took control almost 20 years ago of the Gaza Strip is basically to build a network of tunnels from Gaza City and under Gaza City.
These tunnels are the biggest challenge that the IDF faces in its offensive against Hamas. In 2021, the IDF claimed they had destroyed at least 100 kilometers of Hamas's tunnel network. Hamas responded by saying that just 5% of its 500-kilometer-long network was destroyed by Israel. Now, if this is true, this vast underground network, the likes of which probably don't exist in the world anywhere, will be tough for the IDF to navigate.
We are at the bank inside a tunnel that was detected a few years back, and this was a tunnel that was used by a terrorist organization, Islamist jihadis as well as Hamas, to in fact attack not only the soldiers but also civilians who stay very close to this international border. This is a 2.5 kilometer long tunnel, 900 meters well within the Israeli territory. Colonel Jonathan Conricus, who is the former international spokesperson of the IDF. What's exactly happening here?
What's happening is that we have Israeli communities just hundreds of meters by us, and we're standing in a tunnel that was supposed to allow Hamas terrorists to get to those communities and kill Israeli civilians. We have a border about 900 meters away, which is monitored and patrolled by Israeli soldiers, and the purpose of that border is to keep the terrorists in Gaza and to keep Israeli civilians safe. What makes it very difficult is that the terrorists don't look like soldiers. They all try very hard to look like civilians. They hide from the using civilians as their human shields, and they use infrastructure like the one we have behind us in order to get to our civilians, to the Israeli civilians, and to attack them.
In 2018, the IDF said that Hamas had invested over $150 million in its tunnel building activities. According to them, these tunnels were built under civilian infrastructure in Gaza within close proximity of Israeli towns, intentionally endangering both Israeli and Gazan civilians. The IDF held Hamas responsible for these cross-border assault tunnels, which violated Israeli sovereignty and threatened the lives of its civilians and soldiers.
The Gaza Strip is one of the densest populated areas in the world, about 20 miles from one end to the other, and about 9 miles in the widest location and less than 6 in the most narrow. Not to be accessed by the civilians. These aren't bunkers for the Gazan civilians to have access to when Israel is striking. No, it's only for Hamas and other terrorists so that they can continue to fire rockets at Israel, to plan operations, to launch terrorists into Israel. That's the only thing that this network is for.
Tunnels, rocket launch sites, and even weapon storage facilities are shielded by homes and schools. This makes it harder for the IDF to locate and engage them.
Whether they are 300 or 500 is not important, but they are extensively underground. There are exits also in places which is not easy to hit, for example in hospitals, children's schools, such areas which are, empathetically you can't hit them. You can't even smoke people out easily. So you're trying to smoke it out, there are hostages there. So you will be hitting hostages. They may be human shields in form of public.
Israel has been targeting these terror tunnels on various occasions. On October 10, 2017, the IDF destroyed a cross-border assault tunnel that extended into Israel from the Gaza Strip. The tunnel was discovered less than 2 miles from the Israeli village. 1 month later, on December 9th, the Defense Forces destroyed another tunnel that extended hundreds of meters into the Israeli territory. On January 13, 2018, the IDF destroyed another tunnel, crossing 180 meters into the Israeli territory and known to be a smuggling route for weapons and fighters in order to carry out terror attacks. The October 7 attack by Hamas was a combination of simultaneous attacks by air, land and water. Despite Israel's heavily secured border with Gaza, the IDF was not warned of any breach in its security. Perhaps a cross-border tunnel was used by Hamas to enter Israel undetected initially.
What we're doing is prioritizing striking commanders, senior officials in Hamas from all echelons. Whenever we have intelligence that indicates the whereabouts of a senior Hamas official or military commander, we strike in that location. And the places where we know that Hamas has infrastructure, whether it is financial or construction or command and control, collection of intelligence, research and development, whatever it is, if it belongs to Hamas, we are striking it.
So last time when the Israelis did a ground offensive some years ago, it wasn't a total success story. It's because the built-up area is so thick and the passageways are so narrow that it's not simple to do an offensive. So what the Israeli ground forces may want to do to recapture the entire Gaza will be causing immense amount of casualties. This kind of operation is not going to be a simple one, except for creating some kind of a buffer next to the fence, a small little buffer, so push the population a little away, and then you protect yourself and your kibbutz across, which are next to the closer to the fence. But beyond that, getting into tunnels without information, detailed information, and without knowing where the hostages are kept, and their hostages may be kept into many pockets, it's not the easiest of conventional military operations. No, I think they will be in trouble doing it.
For the Benjamin Netanyahu government, destroying these tunnels and crushing Hamas will be a military victory, or perhaps a way of extracting retribution for every Israeli citizen killed since Hamas's invasion. But for those held captive, for those caught in the crossfire, war comes at a cost. At the cost of their loved ones, their homes, and their own lives.